I've never seen jokes take such an unfair pounding as they took last night. How many of you saw the debate last night? Oh, fun. No sparks at all, huh?
No.
Not much happened, but we're going to take a little poll later. We'll tell you about that. It was interesting watching last night. I finally figured out who Dukakis really is. The clue came when he was talking about uncollected taxes, if you remember. And he said there's billions and billions out there. He's Carl Sagan. You see? They look alike. I thought they had a really good moderator last night. They had CNN's Bernard Shaw. He's good. He kept the... Did you see him turn on the crowd?
Yeah.
Told him to shut up or he was going to empty the auditorium or something. And did you hear Shaw's first question? He sounded like Carl Malden doing an American Express commercial. Your wife is murdered, her traveler's checks are stolen. What will you do? What will you do? Amazing. See, when you do that, you only encourage me. Now, for those of you who don't know, the debate was held in the gymnasium over at UCLA, right? Pauley Pavilion. And I think that was a brilliant move on Bush's part to humiliate Dukakis by getting him onto a basketball court. When George Bush said last night there'll be no more debates, that's going to get him more votes than anything.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you. I thought some of the questions were a little trivial. You know, for a presidential debate. When they say, Governor Dukakis, what was the name of Deputy Barney Fife's girlfriend on the old Andy Griffith show? You didn't hear that one. They asked that. Another incisive question last night. They asked, who are your heroes? Remember that? And Dukakis, he said, well, heroes. Came up with Jonas Salk and many of our school teachers. Now, I may be wrong. Wasn't that the same answer given by Miss Arkansas in the Miss America pageant? You watched the debate, Tom?
No, I missed that, unfortunately.
Well, it's very important, I mean.
Who was it?
It was Bush and Dukakis debating last night.
I saw the first one.
You mean Lincoln Douglas or... what was I talking about? Now, George Bush keeps talking about his presidency will have 1,000 points of light. Now, who do you think is going to pick up the electric tab for that? Well, today there was another scoop in the National Enquirer. Their own experts have determined that the image on the Shroud of Turin is Elvis Presley. You like that blend? And in a related item, Elvis today claimed he spotted Jesse Jackson. I've been having a strange day. Tough. You ever have one of those days where it's just tough to make decisions? I couldn't decide today whether I should buy Clorox 2 now or hold out for Clorox 3. Here's some television news. Did you know that Mary Tyler Moore and Dick Van Dyke are back on the air with new shows? Now, Mary Tyler Moore has an interesting new title for a show. It's called The New Mary Tyler Moore Show. Not that one, this one. I don't know. Boy, that went nowhere. Exciting show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Later on, I don't think you announced this, new airline owner Donald Trump will be out here and tell us today Eastern Airlines, tomorrow the space shuttle. I don't want to see that. Anyway, what's that? Thank you for coming. We got a good show. Where's Doc tonight?
He's in Pittsburgh.
What's he doing there?
He's working with the symphony.
Oh, Pittsburgh Symphony.
Pittsburgh Symphony, yes.
Well, you do that too, don't you? Don't you go out and work with symphony orchestras?
Well, I get Pottstown.
You can build from there. I mean, it's a kind of a thing. Anyway, tonight, Miss Sandy Duncan is with us. We have, very funny young man who's been with us on the show before. Comedian Steve Mittleman is here. And a gentleman who has spent well over 4 decades in this business. He is a fixture in Chicago. Most of the nation knows Mr. Irv Kupcinet. He is with us tonight to talk about his book. So stay where you are, and we'll be right back. Commissary coffee. You can't hurt. People always wonder why I stir my coffee with it. You can't. This is from the commissary. You cannot hurt this coffee from the commissary. It enhances the flavor. I'm still waiting to go to a restaurant sometime and get the Folgers coffee crystals test.
Yes.
You really think people can tell the difference? Yeah. That's what they say. Anyway, what else have I got here? From time to time, some of the guys from our orchestra, like Tommy, goes out with the Pottstown Symphony. Doc right now is with the Pittsburgh Symphony. Ross Tompkins is down at the Jazz Festival, I believe, in Jacksonville, Florida. And this Sunday, day after tomorrow, in Danville, Illinois, Mr. Eddie Shaughnessy will be out there. And he'll also be at tell me about the SS Norway Floating Jazz Festival. He's going to be there October 22nd through the 29th. Is that a cruise?
It's a great thing, John. A lot of your friends like Clark Terry, Dizzy Gillespie will be there. And we leave from Port of Miami on...
So we don't need a monologue, Eddie, just...
And it's a great trip.
You leave from where?
Port of Miami.
And then where do you go from there?
St. Thomas, St. John,
Thomas?
and any island that has a bar mitzvah or a wedding.
A wedding, pick up a gig, Eddie. Anyway, Danville this Sunday. And the SS Norway Floating Jazz Festival. How can people be on the Jazz Festival if they had to make reservations by now?
Oh, that's more or less just to announce the fact that we're there. This way there's a bigger crowd at each island to meet us.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Island hopping. That's going to be nice. Did you ever go to one of those cruises?
No, I want to.
Okay, now. What? What?
We don't understand what he just said.
You don't understand what Eddie just said? What Eddie was saying, what my question was to Eddie... why am I plugging this? Because the people who are on the boat have either made their reservation or not. But what Eddie is saying, the people who hear this on these islands, which don't get this show anyway... You can't see some guy saying, hey, man, they're coming on the SS Norway. They don't know, hey, man. Did you hear Mr. Carson? He said they're coming. Get ready for the boat. So how can they hear? We don't show on those islands. We don't show in St. Thomas,
Sure
do we?
we do.
What?
Yeah.
So do they get us by a satellite?
Oh, do have satellite.
Okay, well, you people, when you see a big boat go by and you hear a lot of guys playing, well, I tell them to come in and play, man. Okay, now this will be the third presidential poll we have taken for this election. Now, let me tell you how this works. We've done this the last 3 elections, and it's been fairly accurate.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not scientific. It's only going to be by applause. Now, let me point out what I'm going to do, because we only want you to applaud for the presidential candidate that you would actually vote for. Don't boo or make any sounds, because it's just based on actually an applause meter. And this is based on the fact that if the election were held tomorrow, I'm going to ask you whom you would vote for. Who you would vote for or whom?
Whom.
For whom?
You would vote.
Who would you vote for, right? For whom? Let me put it this way. The person tomorrow,
Which candidate?
Which candidate will you vote for?
Yeah.
If the election were held tomorrow. Now, I think last time I did Mr. Bush's name first, so I'll do Mr. Dukakis. Just applaud for that person you would vote for. Those who are not going to vote for it, don't applaud at all. All right? First one, how many tomorrow would vote for President of the United States, Michael Dukakis? No shout. Okay. Don't shout or anything like that. Now, how many would vote for George Bush? Interesting. Okay. So I say that has no scientific value outside of the fact that at least in this studio of 500 people from pretty much representative from all over the country, Mr. Bush is ahead. Now, that's what happened when we did this for Reagan, you know? Ron called and says, how did I do in the applause? How many of you are visiting California on vacation? Thank you. How many of you got stuck on the freeways and just decided to stay here? If you have been driving around the state, you may have noticed a phenomenon that's not indigent to this state. Indigent or?
Indigenous.
Indigenous. I'm having trouble. What? For whom? I'm having trouble with my grammar, aren't I? And my grandpa, too. Okay.
Excuse me.
You may have noticed something that happens in this state. I think it happens in other states. It's called personalized license plates or vanity license plates. And it's not a bad idea because they raise money, which apparently goes into an environmental protection fund. It's $35. You write the motor vehicle department, and they'll issue you a plate with any combination of letters, I guess up to 7 letters. And you pay $35 for it. And some people, like to personalize it, and some people have tried to get away with some very strange things on license plates. But I apparently found out what happened. I sent in for Mafia once.
Right.
I want to see if I can get a license plate that just said Mafia. I figured nobody would ever bother my car.
Right.
The computer that they have, apparently in Sacramento, kicked that out. You can't get that.
Yeah.
But occasionally you'll drive around and you'll see one in a foreign language that apparently sneaks by the computer.
Yeah.
And boom, there it is, like married or something.
Right, yeah.
One car owner in 60 in California has a personalized license plate. We've got a copy of some of the actual plates, and let's see if you can tell or guess whose these are. These are not jokes. Who do you think this license plate belongs to? A-Team. That belongs to Mr. T. All right. This one? Willie Mays. Ernest Borgnine. All right, let's see how you do on this one. No, it's not Mr. Magoo. No. Leslie Uggams. Yeah, it's spelled backwards. That belongs to a California dentist. Actually, it does. I don't know how many dentists put in for that. Obviously, the first guy who puts in gets it, right? All right. Some guy said his ex-wife. No. That is tennis star Martina Navratilova. She's Czechoslovakian. She's now an American citizen. An ex-Czech. Boy, is this audience sharp?
Yeah.
Please. Let's be careful on this one. That's an optometrist. You know who this belongs to? Now, is this a joke or is that for real? Sinatra? Is that for real? I guess it is. Let's see how many of you know who this is. Richard Simmons? This is my favorite. Yeah. Lawrence Welk. A 1 and a 2 and a... Judge Robert Bork. Now, these, I think, are just some we've kind of made up. Comedian Robin Williams. Miss Piggy. General Manuel Noriega. Alan Alda. Greg Louganis. The editors of the National Enquirer. New York Mets. All right, that's New York Mets pitcher Ron Darling. Dodgers pitcher Orel Hershiser. Freddy Krueger, somebody said. This is the producer of the television series 30-something. We have here rhythm. Gotta have rhythm in these. Dom DeLuise. See how good you are. The head of NASA. You're right. See, they count down backwards. Nobody's going to get boxer Jerry Cooney. Or Michael Spinks, I guess. Lucille Ball. Mikhail Gorbachev. And Leonid Brezhnev. Oh, you booed. Hey. Booing. I mean, that's not Abe Lincoln we're talking about. Thursday, Bill Cosby, Thursday at 8. Bill Cosby in Central Time. Rhythm. Yoko Ono. Surgeon General C. Everett Koop. Geraldo Rivera. Mets pitcher Jay Howell. Circus owner P.T. Barnum. Lonnie Anderson. I can't do this. No, that's true. He's a friend of mine. I can't do that. Whoopi Goldberg. Gary Hart. Australia's Paul Hogan. Reverend Al Sharpton. Mel Tillis. Former President Gerald Ford. Elvis Presley. Knew that was going to get nothing. Anybody got this? Dr. Ruth Westheimer.
Day 6.
Sometimes you have to dramatize it. This belonged to the late John Wayne. It actually did. Governor Michael Dukakis. Olympic gold medal winner Matt Biondi.
Yeah.
Member of our Olympic water polo team, Jessica Hahn. Jerry Falwell. Tammy Faye Baker. Can you see this one? Ben Johnson. And this belongs, obviously, to the owner, I don't know if you can see this, of a VCR. Forever blinking 12 o'clock midnight. Big finish. Big electrical finish. Finish with a Tammy Faye and get out. Finish with... Gone. Finish. Finish with Tammy Faye and get out. Oh, I had to do a big prop, electrical thing. You never learn, do you?
No.
We'll be back with Miss Sandy Duncan right after this. there. All right. My first guest, you all know, she stars on The Hogan Family, which airs here on NBC on Monday nights at 8:30. Would you welcome Miss Sandy Duncan? It's been a long time since we've seen each
I was
other.
thinking that because...
You look marvelous.
Thank you.
You really do.
Well, hold
How do
up.
I look?
You look great.
Good, okay.
We met...
Sometimes you have to beg. You
No. I was going to tell you that you look good.
Oh.
I was, because
Really?
we met... Well, first I was talking backstage
Yeah.
to Bob Dolce
Mhm.
and carrying on I'm not a rocket scientist, but I was having sort of a quasi-intelligent conversation. And it was like an out-of-body experience because I've been in New York for 9 years, and when I've been
Yeah.
doing your show, it's been co-host.
Ah.
And when I first met you, I was about 24. About that. So I'm 42 now. Okay? So...
It doesn't bother you admitting you're... Now, most women wouldn't do that.
Well, I'd rather say,
You don't
know,
look 42.
See, I'd rather that than I'm 26 and people go, oh.
Yeah,
she looks,
sure.
you know. But
You're a
as I
good-looking
came
24.
around and I was walking, I thought every step I'm taking here, I'm like regressing, like 1 or 2 years. So by the time my bottom actually hit the seat, I'm sort of like looking at myself going, your mentality's around 15 years old or something. Because it's like seeing your teacher at a grocery store. Or, you know, like seeing you, where I met you were a big deal.
Yeah.
Do you see how I'm talking? I don't talk like this. See, what am I trying to say?
Ain't I no big deal no more?
No, no.
I mean, I'm regressing now or what?
No. But since I have, look,
Yeah.
I'm not the only person that does this.
Mhm.
I see friends of mine that come on this show and act like they have no mind also. You know, and I think it's probably part of its pressure because you are a big deal. And I met you when I was like, 24 and kind of excited. And
Aren't you excited anymore? I'm just teasing you, you know that.
Well, obviously I am, or I'd be in more control. Because I'm twice divorced and a mother of 2, and I should be acting like one.
Yes.
Well, divorce is a sobering thing.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So I find that probably the main reason people do this is because they feel pressured to be things they're not. Like, interesting. You know?
Provocative.
Or,
Yeah.
provocative and all those things. So you layer on all that stuff and you try and be things that you're not because basically people are kind of boring.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't you?
Am I what?
In your normal day in, day out life. You don't lead a life of anecdotes, do you?
No. I'm just a man from the earth.
Do you ever think of me? I mean,
Give me a piece of bottom land and a few chickens and a picket fence, and that's all I want out of life.
do you get all these suits that you wear, or?
What do you mind? Do I
I mean,
get
do
them?
they give them to you?
No.
You give them back
Give them back
after
to
you
who?
wear them?
I don't give them. No.
These are your clothes that you wear every
Yeah,
night?
NBC does not give me my clothes. Yeah. Should they? Do you think they should?
No, I
Well,
just.
that's a good thing for the next negotiation.
Yeah.
I want clothes. Yeah.
Because, I mean, you always have something different. You look snappy every night. I just
Well, thank
think your
you very
closet
much.
must be very full. But see, I think of you. Now, do you think of me in the last 8 years? Like, did something cross your mind? Like, wonder if Sandy... No.
Yeah, well, they say when you dream, the people in your dream are not always the people.
Am I in your dreams?
Okay, yeah, well, you have been once.
Really?
And you were flying.
Oh. You're making it up.
Well, yes, I am, but I tried.
But but,
Sometimes you have to lie when you do this job. It's the only way to get ahead. Sometimes you just lie.
But like De Niro, do you think maybe he thinks of us now and then, or somebody, or Meryl? I mean, I do think of people like they're public, and I go, that I think when I see you, I go, God, what if he keeps his suits?
Well, you don't really have been thinking of me since we haven't seen
Yes,
each other.
every now and then I'll go, wonder how he is, wonder how his
Oh,
his
come
life is.
on.
I swear to God. Well, you're not very sensitive or something. What is this? You must think of me now and then.
No,
Never.
Damn it, I don't. I could lie.
Yeah.
See, I lied because I felt, bad about not thinking of you, so I made up and said I thought of you in my dreams, and that was a lie.
Maybe now you will.
I thought it could be. Could be. What is it, Fred? Are you posing for an oil painting or something? Better standing here like this. I guess we have to do a commercial. We're going to come back and we're going to sort this out and find out what's going on here. All right, we are back. Talking to Sandy Duncan. Somebody told me you recently went back home. It's Texas, right?
Mm-hmm.
To receive an award from
Yeah.
your... Is this from your hometown or what?
I don't think so. Tyler? No.
Not Tyler, Texas.
The award was in Dallas. It was
Yeah.
a communications award, and I was the first woman to receive it. It was a really, I didn't expect to be as touched as I don't know if have you ever been brought, I'm sure you have, honored by your hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real, and a lot of friends.
Matter of fact,
that I
I'm going
hadn't
to be
seen.
in my hometown, believe it or not, on Sunday.
Oh, you're having it?
No, I'm just going back to my hometown in
I
Norfolk,
see.
Nebraska.
Just to
This
visit.
Sunday. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing when you see people from high school. And they flew people in from New York, and Tommy Tune gave me the award. It was, and I cried. I got up to talk, and I really found myself.
You're emotional.
I was very emotional. I was talking about my dad, running the gas station, paying for my lessons all those years, and my mom making the. I want to do it again. It's very touching,
Do your folks keep all the memorabilia of you as a child? Collect
I don't
things?
think it's not been touched. It's
You're
like my
kidding.
drawers still have bobby pins in them
Oh,
that I
come
left
on.
there. I don't even, no, everything is just kind of the way it was. My diary. It's like,
Did you keep a diary?
Mm-hmm. For 1 year.
You still have it?
Yes, I do. Did you keep? No, boys don't do that.
Boys don't keep diaries, do they?
Not usually, I guess.
No.
Maybe two. Yeah, but no, my room is very much the same. It just looks like suspended animation, sort of.
Yeah. My folks didn't do that. They rented out my room. I went to college and I came back and my room was rented out. It was very insecure. We have to do this already? My God, where does the time go? We'll be right back. Okay, this young man has been with us before. He is Steve is a very funny young actor, comedian, and he's been on the show before. He'll be appearing at the Improvisation in Chicago, the 19th of December through the 24th, and at Club 1407 in New York City, the 1st of December through the 3rd. Would you welcome, please, Steve Mittleman. Steve?
Thank you very much. How are you? Thank you. I've never looked this good before in my life. Actually, I don't even look this good now. It's nice to be here. I was just back east. I'm from New York originally. Go Mets. I went to some kind of reunion, old neighborhood reunion. Everybody there, I realized, called me Mittleman by my last name. And then I realized my whole life, people call me Mittleman. Even my parents call me Mittleman. Dinner, Mittleman. I was like a puppy, I noticed there are last name guys and first name guys. Last name guys, Bob, Ted, Al. And there's last name guys like Manson, Gaddafi. Picasso's a last name guy, right? He's probably picked last in sports like I was. Yeah, I'll take Picasso. I always get stuck with Picasso. Picasso, you don't even have to play, just sketch the game, okay? And don't put both my eyes on the same side of my head again. So, when I was born, my father went to the maternity ward. He asked the nurse, which one's my son? She said, oh, you mean Mittleman? And there I was, wearing this suit. I was a hit baby. I'm from a middle-class Jewish family. I went to Hebrew school, a very strict Hebrew school. We had nuns. Our Lady of the Finkelsteins. For confession, we'd say 5 Hail Sylvias. You know what makes kosher meats kosher? They make the animals feel so guilty, they die. Cows go, shoot me already. Like most Jewish men, my main goal is to be mistaken for Italian. Sinatra and I are like this. We're mistaken all the time. People come over to Frank and say, Mittleman? Last week, a lady came over to me. She said, you're Frank Sinatra. I said, lady, please. I said, live and breathe, Frank Sinatra. Thank you, but I'm not Sinatra. My whole life, Frank. I wanted to meet you, rip off your shirt, caress your chest, pull down your pants, bite on your thighs. I said, Scooby-Dooby-Doo. She said, Mittleman? My brother-in-law's Italian. He's got one of those great Italian names with all the vowels. His name's Vinny A-E-I-O-U-O. The tough guy owns a funeral home. He knows who's coming in a week in advance. I told him I was going to be on the show. He said, break a leg in 3 places. He's a macho guy. He did one of those macho things. He shaved his head. Looked great. I did it. I looked like a giant thumb. Cars would stop. They thought I was hitching. I went cross country. I didn't even want to go. Jewish people, I notice, sometimes have names with no vowels whatsoever. Sometimes you hear Jewish names like... My mother goes, you know the hookers? No, Mom, we never met. Mrs. Cook used to babysit for you. Nah, huh? Oh, don't you know, they used to live next door to the family. How do you spell that? C-H-C-H-C-H? Yeah, how'd you guess? I saw your personalized license plate. Why don't you buy a vowel already? You said, go on Wheel of Fortune, Vanna, give him some vowels. So, you know what I did recently? I went to this Italian wedding. It was so gorgeous. I was so moved by the artwork and the stained glass windows, I went into confession. And I said, forgive me, Father, for I've sinned. Actually, I have been to confession in 30 years. In fact, to tell you the truth, I'm Jewish. He said, Mittleman?
Okay, my next guest, I'm sure most of you know. Irv Kupcinet is one of a kind for more than 45 years. Kup's column has been a Chicago landmark, chronicling what makes the world tick, all of which is reflected in his autobiography. Would you welcome, please, Irv Kupcinet. Good to see you, Irv.
So nice to see you. Mittleman?
Mittleman. How are things back in that great city?
Very
Chicago?
exciting. Chicago's always an exciting town.
I think it's one of the first big cities I ever went to. When I got in the service, I went to Chicago. And you never forget it.
Chicago was the warmest city during World War II for servicemen.
Yeah.
Everything was free.
Yeah.
Mayor Kelly, the late Mayor Kelly, was responsible for that.
I remember that very well. You've been based out of there how many years now?
Since I was born. I've lived there all my life. But I've been writing the column for 45 years.
And the TV show for how long?
I did that for 27 years before my doctor said I better quit.
Yeah.
And you were among my
I was trying to remember the year.
outstanding guests.
I don't know that I was very outstanding, but I remember I was on with my dear friend, late friend, Buddy Rich, and Phyllis McGuire, and I think there was an actress on. I don't recall her name. What the hell did we talk about? Do you remember every show?
I remember very well. First of all, let me compliment you, Johnny, because you were so hip on what was going on around the world. You weren't in show business, but you were very aware of the big issues.
Yeah.
And you talked about it, which you don't do very often because that's not your speed here.
Right.
But our good friend Buddy and our good friend Phyllis got into a heated debate over Frank Sinatra.
They had some kind of brouhaha.
And you and I just sat back and listened very encouraging and very attentively.
Phyllis was not very flattering, and Buddy sat back and told about a wonderful guy, and it got to be a little sticky.
Yes, it was.
What's the stickiest moment you've ever had where it's gotten so uncomfortable? Or has it ever happened where somebody just says, enough of this? And I think in your book you detail somebody who just got up and left.
Oh, yeah, we've had a few people. Abby Hoffman was the last one to get up and leave, and we had a few authors who didn't like... I had an author on with a fellow who had written the review of the book.
Right.
And the review was very negative. And when the author came on and saw this fellow, he said, not for me, he left. One of the stickiest moments was having Imogene Coco on the show. In those days, the show ran about 3 hours, and Imogene sat there for 3 hours and never opened her mouth.
Is this when the show of shows was on?
Yeah. She says, I'd like to listen, I don't like to talk. So she just sat there and listened to the conversation. Have you ever had guests like that?
Yeah, you try to couch a question so you can't get a yes or no answer. I noticed the sports guys during the when they were talking to ball players. I guess you really felt like you were going to be behind and you wouldn't pull out the game. And the guy says, yeah. What else he can, rather than saying, tell us how you feel. So she just sat there and...
Sat there for all 3 hours and just listened and didn't say a word. That's a little exasperating, John, as you know.
You've had a lot of political people on your show. We used to have more than we do now because I find political people not really... They're so protected and they want to produce such an image that sometimes they don't really... You don't get to the core of the person.
One exception, at least one, the late Hubert Humphrey.
We had him on
the spirit of jovial politics. He talked all the time. One time I had him on the show, and he was brilliant, but he was very, very long. Came to the end of the close, and I said, Hubert, I have time for one more question, but I don't have time for one more answer.
I remember he was a guest a couple of times on this show, and you'd just say, how do you feel? And then you just said
away
back.
You go.
Well, you pray sometimes for those kind of guests, don't you, to be,
sure.
Be self-starters?
Oh, I should say.
What other political figures you had on that you found fascinating? Or
Well, I've had former President Harry Truman, former President Jerry Ford, John F. Kennedy, a few people like that.
Yeah. I didn't know Truman, but I would have liked to have known him because he was the kind of a man, I think, that says what's on his mind.
Oh,
and
no
he didn't have a private persona. He would just...
He was a very, very dear friend, and before he left the White House, he called me and he says, Cup, I want you to bring your family down to the White House, and I'm going to give you a personal tour. So on a few days before Christmas, before he was about to leave the White House, Essie and I and our son Jerry and our daughter Cookie came to the White House, and he gave us a personal tour. And then Margaret joined, and she joined the tour.
Right.
I remember one incident when we came to the picture of President Jackson. Margaret said, that's the president's favorite president. Mr. Truman loved President Jackson. But she says, I don't, because look at his nose. He has a Truman nose, and I can't stand the Truman nose. Her own nose she was referring to.
That's funny.
I couldn't stand a large nose myself.
Have you ever had anybody come on who has really been bombed, drunk? We've had a number on the show, and I won't mention any names, but... You ever had anybody comes on and you know that is really out of it, and they're trying to pretend they're not?
Yeah. We had a great actor. We used to serve liquor on the show in those days. And we had a great actor who was way to the right, and he hated the communists as nobody else did. And we had a Russian diplomat on the show. Not an ordinary communist, but a Russian diplomat.
Good booking.
Every time the Russian diplomat made a comment of any kind, this actor would take another drink. Mm-hmm. Finally, he was so loaded and so abusive to the guests that I said, you'll have to leave the show. We can't take this kind of conversation. So he got up and walked off. That was the most abusive I think we've had.
I guess I can mention one incident because it was kind of funny. When we first came to California, we made the mistake. We thought, wouldn't it be nice to have a little hospitality bar backstage? That lasted one night. And we had some champagne, and I can still remember the show. Zsa Zsa Gabor was on the show, and we were on an hour and a half at that time. And Marlon Brando was the last guest. Well, Marlon came around and the lights hit him, and he just stood there. He says, man, it's really bright here, isn't it? And he came over and sat down, and it was hysterically funny. And he turned and he started to attack Zsa Zsa, and it was a great show. But most people
wouldn't like to attack Zsa. Who wouldn't?
Yeah. You've covered...
How did Ed McMahon survive that period?
Oh, Ed is... no, Ed never drinks before the show. During, but not before the show. No. You've covered most of the Academy Awards, I guess, since they started.
Since 1945, I've been covering the Academy Awards. I think I've covered more than any outside newspaper man.
Any memorable moments?
I think the most exciting one, Johnny, was way back when Judy Garland was named for Star is Born. And the great case, Grace Kelly was named for Country Girl.
That's one she did.
That divided all Hollywood because Grace had the following of the Bing Crosby, Bob Hope segment. And Judy, of course, had Frank and all the Rat Pack gang on her side. And all Hollywood was divided, and it really was a bitter contest. Of course, Grace won, but I think Judy was the real winner because she had a baby about the same time as the awards were going on.
Yeah. Are you continuing a column? Are you getting to the point where you're still active in it?
I'm still active, 6 columns a week. One of the few guys writing 6 a week. Crazy enough to do that.
What do you do when you get up in the morning and you can't think of anything to put on the paper? Now, that has to happen sometimes, where you just can't grind it out.
Johnny, you gather so much